Welcome to the Vault XL. Thank you for joining me. This week's movie is The Lodge, now free on the Tubi app, bringing you continued conversations, commentary pertaining to Sean Puffy Combs, who is standing trial for various charges: human trafficking, prostitution, by transportation, racketeering. Jane was on the witness stand yesterday. I believe she's the last witness to testify pertaining to a personal witness, and she's detailing a lot of information pertaining to violence, text messages, video clips, learning about Cassie's beating. She so happened to, she was with Sean when that video aired, which I find very interesting. We learn about her um, having lawyers representing her, and he is still paying. He's paying for those lawyers and also still paying her rent, which is very baffling to me. I don't know if he's still trying to hold on to this female just in case he does prison time or gets out. I don't know. Some very strange information. But just going to bring a brief recap pertaining to yesterday's testimony, which was trial day 19. Thank you for your time.
Ex-girlfriend of Sean Diddy Combs back on the stand today, giving graphic and disturbing testimony in the sex trafficking and racketeering trial against the rap mogul using the pseudonym Jane. She's testifying she was forced into drug-fueled sexual encounters with male prostitutes that could last for days. Comes after jurors actually heard recordings of Combs' voice for the very first time. Prosecutors played 3 recordings allegedly sent from Combs to Jane. Here's a portion of one of them.
Seemed like I could do whatever I want to, but I didn't. Just straight flipping out on me. And I told you that you have one more time to do this. Flipping out on me because somebody came to work out with me at my house. You're nuts. So be sad, go crazy, do whatever you want to do.
Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His legal team says all sexual encounters were consensual. For more, let's bring in legal contributor and trial attorney Brian Buckmeyer. So, Brian, what's the significance of these audio recordings, you think, and will they be effective?
So, Kira, for the most part, we've been hearing, whether it be AUSA Comey, the lead prosecutor in the case, and Jane reading text messages, but we're also hearing, as you play, some of the audio clips, whether it be audio notes that Sean Combs left for Jane, or if it was a recording, actually, I think the 2 of them, actually, recording of Sean Combs talking to Jane close in time to when the Cassie civil lawsuit came out. And what I think it does is it gives color to the argument that the government's making here, that Sean Combs is either love bombing Jane or attempting to reach out to her at a time that he knows law enforcement is looking to indict him on the charges he's facing now, to kind of do damage control. Make sure that she understands that this relationship was consensual, that this is something they both wanted to do, highlighting that she was getting many of these entertainers or male escorts. And so I think for the government, this is very helpful for their case, but I do think the defense might have a different interpretation of this cross-examination for them, likely to start tomorrow with Jane.
So you've been inside the courtroom. What has Combs' demeanor been like during Jane's testimony?
So the Combs of last week is very different of the Combs of this week. Don't forget that Sean Combs was told that he cannot be doing anything that might influence the jury through that vigorous head nodding or shaking of his head in testimony that he either likely agreed with or disagreed with, and doing so in a very entertaining way, let's say, towards the jury. Now he's much more laid back. He's kind of pushed back in his seat. He's listening to Jane on the stand testify. When there's opportunities to have the text messages or other pieces of evidence shown on the video, you can see him put in his glasses, really scoot up close to Teddy Garagos, who's to his right, and who's also going to be cross-examining Jane, and then looking at the evidence on the screen and participating in defense. I think he's trying to point out his interpretation of some of these messages and also help Teddy Garagos prepare for her cross-examination.
And Combs' defense team has asked for a mistrial twice now. Even if a mistrial is unlikely, what's the strategy behind it?
So there are two reasons why you would ask for a mistrial in any sense. The first being that perhaps they could stack up on each other. One individual mistrial argument might not be the one to have this case fall apart or fall in favor for the defense, but if there are multiple issues, a judge may second guess the third, fourth, fifth mistrial application and may actually grant it. The other, probably more likely reason is if Sean Combs is convicted of any or all of the crimes, when they go to appeal, they want to make sure they what's called preserve the issue. Because if they don't raise the issue of mistrial during the trial phase, they will not be able to raise it on the appellate stage. And so they might be hoping for a more favorable judge who's not just going to look at one or two applications for mistrial, but if they're hopeful and lucky they get more down the road, a judge on the appellate level will look at multiple mistrial motions, and they're hoping for a beneficial result at that time.
All right, Brian Buckmeyer, thank you. And for more on the Combs trial, you can catch ABC News Live, our show, Burden of Proof, the case against Diddy, every night, 5:30 p.m. Here,
Okay, everybody. That's a recap. ABC Live. A lot was said. I'm going to try to just be brief because it's a lot to digest. Text messages, video clips, as you heard him basically telling her, I can F and do what I want to do. You thought somebody was coming here to have sex with me, blah, blah, blah. I was training with that person. We learned that she saw him out or heard he was out with one woman right after her birthday. They had spent her birthday together. She learned like days later he was out with another lady celebrating her birthday. Don't know who that female is. You also hear about him paying the rent, attorneys, which I find all this baffling. Canoodling with her right up before he was arrested, probably trying to get in her favor, her graces, to, say, hey, you go to court, they subpoena you, just tell them it was consensual. So I'd like to know what their conversations were like a year or so ago. She also has testified that they have not spoken really since his arrest. So what does really mean? Is he allowed to get mail, number one? Has she written him? Has she tried to write him? Has she tried to get on a list for visitation and or some type of phone list? Who has he spoken with outside of his family since being incarcerated? All that's going to matter, especially with all, the testimony of all this violence and freak-offs and different scenarios. It's a very sick case. I mean, the more you listen to it, you'd have to admit it's very ill. We're not even in the jest of saying, well, this is somebody with freaky sexual behavior. It's more deviant than that. When you counter in the violence, talking down to the person, belittling them, calling them nasty names. We hear about the infections. She's testified to that. Being infected, as I've said before in my commentary, everyone's dancing around the elephant in the room. Common sense should tell you Sean was also infected. These other people who were having sex with him were infected. And I won't doubt that somebody in this group of people along the way, they are HIV positive or have full-blown AIDS. And that's what people need to be talking about, because everyone is talking about all this he said, she said from these witnesses, but you're not talking about the real situation of somebody is probably very ill, possibly on meds, and no one talks about that. I find that very baffling. The defense wants a mistrial. That will come into play today, Tuesday. Judge will possibly make a decision about a mistrial. I doubt that he will grant a mistrial. This is the second time the defense has attempted to go before the judge asking for a mistrial. This information about the mistrial is because of the testimony from Brianna. She claims that she was dangled off of a balcony, 17th floor balcony, which Sean is saying not true. They're trying to weigh in his height and the height of the balcony ceiling and all of those type of foolishness, which you already know that doesn't really mean anything. When you're dangling someone over a balcony, all you have to do is just literally push part of their body over the railing. What does that have to do with the ceiling? Absolutely nothing. So that doesn't really mean anything to me. But that's their defense, is that her testimony is fraudulent, and Cassie's testimony is also fraudulent, that she was not there, that this is their account. She was not there when that incident allegedly happened, And then they're saying it didn't happen because Sean was in an entirely different city on the date that this woman claims he dangled her. So what you have to ask yourself, there's some lying in that conversation, because if Cassie's talking about it in a text message, why would she be talking about it with someone if it didn't happen? That doesn't make any sense. And why would this woman be alone to be dangled? See, none of that makes any sense. Allegedly, Cassie was asleep, and somehow Sean and this girl got into it. Why would they be into it? Don't know. Probably doesn't even matter, because if it's true, Sean is known to fly off the handle from what many people have testified. So it really doesn't even matter. Over a balcony, thrown on balcony chairs, punch, pull, hair dragging, whatever. He likes to put his hands on people. Now we have Jane saying the same thing. She's basically testifying to the same type of behavior that Cassie testified to. This woman is saying the same. One night she thought she was going to have a date night. It turned into a blow up. She's trying to flee from him. He's breaking down doors, assumingly in her apartment home. She makes her way out. She stays gone for a couple of hours. She returns. He's still there. This makes no sense to me either. Why return? You see his car still there, or you think he's there. Why return? See, nothing makes any sense. But this is her testimony, similar to Cassie. They were under his spell. They loved him, wanted more from him. He didn't want a normal relationship. And I think any woman listening to this testimony, man as well, can see there's something sadistically wrong with Sean Puffy Combs. He does not know how to engage in a regular, normal relationship. And we get it. Many people have different types of relationships. But when it's dealing with violence, name calling, mind control, coercion, prostitution, engaging in extra sexual activity, the person's telling you they don't want to do it, why would you keep asking? That's been her entire testimony. She never wanted to do these things. She just wanted to spend time with him. But that's not what he wanted. He always wanted to bring an extra party. We also hear that on her birthday, he brought in 3 sexual workers. And then we also learned what? They had sex afterwards. That was just like with Cassie. Do it with 1, do it with 2, however many, then boom, they're having sex with him afterwards, which is so bizarre to me, because it's like, okay, I'm sleeping with these different men, and then you have the audacity to want me to have sex with you after I've been with these people who you didn't even want me to want them to even wear a condom. So this goes back to what I've said about him. He obviously didn't wear a condom with the women either, or men, or whomever he had sex with. Because if he's telling the women, hey, take it, I'm sure you know what he means, take the DICK. Okay, well, that was his response when the woman told the escort she wanted him to put on a condom. This is just rank to me. So rank. But she's believed to be the last witness to testify. Who else they're going to bring in? I don't know if it's going to be other people who possibly got immunity. I don't know if this one of those bodyguards is going to show up and testify. I'm praying that there's an end to this trial at the end of this week, because I'm just bored with talking about this man, because it just seems like every testimony pertaining to the women, they're all redundant. It's just a different face on the witness stand, crying and whimpering about their experiences with him. And the sick part is that, you know, he's possibly gotten away with this for a very long time. This manipulation, putting his hands on people, threatening people, and then having that chief of staff, they call her KK, Miss Coram, she was in the fold, security detail, they were in the fold, associates, ex-assistants, numerous ex-assistants, all jumping through hula hoops for $65,000, $70,000, which we already know that's no money in the state of California or New York. Now, many people don't make that in many parts of the United States, but it's definitely not worth it with all the things that we've heard these people were doing for him. Cleaning up nasty hotel rooms with body fluids. You know, we're talking about semen, blood. The only thing you didn't hear was fecal matter. Just keeping it real. But that was her testimony the past couple of days, is that she wanted more from him. He didn't want to offer her that. He's downplayed the relationship. She's crying, moaning, writing notes in her phone. Then she's, sending text messages after that, trying to gather her thoughts. She take notes first. So that's kind of corroborating that, you know, she's thinking about what she wants to tell him. but it's on deaf's ear. He doesn't care. You're talking to yourself. And I think many of you know what a narcissist is. He's a prime example of a sociopath and narcissist. Anything you say doesn't mean anything. 1 minute he's calling you names, cursing you out, then you ignore him for a couple of weeks, then he'll pop up, oh, hi, I miss you, can we talk? And it's just to get you back into where you just left. You think he's going to take you out, take you on a date, and the next thing you know, he's telling you, oh, by the way, we've got company. See, all this is bizarre. And then we learned also with this Miss Jane, she picked out some of the men. She even admitted 2 of them she felt more comfortable with than one other guy. One guy she didn't feel comfortable with. And so then, you know, the defense can say, well, you're contradicting yourself. 1 minute you're crying about, you don't want to do this. You feel cheap. You feel dirty. You feel undervalued. You're lonely. You're sad. But then you're picking the guys. Why pick any? Why show up? Why answer? He comes over. Next thing you know, he's talking about a hotel night. Just kindly remove yourself. Well, you know what, Sean, I want you at my apartment. Or walk out of the place wherever you are. And it just goes to show you that he's sick. Because he was beating Cassie up. Okay? Didn't care how she looked as far as a performer, actress. If she had somewhere important to go, he didn't care about a black eye, broken nose, cut above the eyebrow. Same thing with this chick. Beat her up, drag her, don't care if anybody's going to question, hey, what happened to your face? What happened to your eye? What happened to your lip? And we are seeing and hearing this from different women. He put his hands on them. So he's violent. As I said before, as him being a father, how do you turn that off? I was watching a video briefly before going live where he's looking at one of his daughters on a red carpet or whatever, some event, and this is the way he was looking at her, like shaking his head, probably like how he was doing in court. I was thinking to myself, I don't trust this man around a dog, let alone a human. And then another video I just watched where the mother, she's standing next to him at the VH1 Awards, and she's just twirling her tongue in her mouth. And I'm just looking like, what is that all about? Are you nervous? I mean, it just looked perverted now that you know what he's been doing behind closed doors. And the allegations that she raised him in a very overt home with traffic of people and not so nice people were in her home. I don't know what Janice was doing, if she was selling drugs or selling her body or allowing sexual escapades to go on in her home with different people. But they said she had a lot of traffic when she moved to, I believe that was what, Mount Vernon, got home. So who knows what she was doing and who knows what Sean was exposed to. But listening to all this information, usually this behavior starts in childhood. This sexual obsession, voyeurism, peeping Tom behavior, it starts with a person being a kid. You're exposed to sex some type of way, touched, violated, videos, magazines, watching, hearing people have sex, and then that becomes your norm. And as you get older, you want to experiment more. And actually, you're grown, you can do that. You find a willing participant or you take it. And he has been accused of that as far as boy children, girl children. And then, as I said before, the fact that he has children, I won't doubt that he has violated his own children. I'm just waiting on the day that somebody tells the truth. Because as I said, when you listen to the behavior of the women, the claims they've made against him during trial, conversations from escorts, conversations from security detail, how are you turning that behavior off when you are alone with your children? How do you go from calling people dirty names, dragging them by their hair, bribing them, manipulating them, setting cars on fire, breaking and entering into someone's home, and then walk up to your child and be loving and doting on your kid? You're still a monster. Your child may not know what you have done yesterday or 5 minutes before you entered the room, but you're still a monster. And as I said, I can't see him just turning that off once he steps into a room with his children. And the one thing, once again, that no one talks about is that with all this wicked behavior, allegations by these different people, this man was raising children in his home after Kim Porter passed away. And I think people need to realize that these children may have been subjected to some of this freaky, kinky behavior. I'm supposed to believe, well, he only did freak offs in hotels. Then who was watching his kids? See, nobody even asked those questions. I haven't heard one person ask that in any news broadcast the past 4 weeks. Well, while all this is going on and he's flying to London and Turks and Caicos and over here and over there, who are watching his children? Stay woke, everybody. And then the women testified that it was often they were doing freak offs and infected and didn't have time to heal. And Jane was saying she was worried about her health and wasn't healing until next thing you know, she's doing another one. Cassie said the same thing. So let's go back to the belly of the beast. Let's climb in the belly. While he's doing all these freak offs, chasing this one, that one, this one, that one, past couple of years since this woman's been deceased, who were raising his children? Who were keeping the kids while he's flying over here, running to a hotel, night 1, night 2, jumping back in the hotel with some more escorts, willing participants, women. Who was at home with his children? That's all I'm saying. Because the girls just turned 18. This girl was freaking off with him up until 2024. That's just a year ago. Stay woke. And she started dating him at about 21. Okay, so that's 4 years ago. So his girls would have then been about 14. 13, 14. And you remember Cassie talking about wanting to be around his children. He wouldn't take her around his children. Well, then they were like what? Toddlers? So see, there's a lot missing to all of this. Some people still are claiming they don't feel like, the government has proven a racketeering case. You're entitled to your opinion, but I think they have tried to set that up to show coercion, forcing people, kidnapping, putting people in cars, taking them places they didn't want to go. That's a part of the racketeering. Using other people to force the people to go places, such as with Dawn, going over to Kid Cudi's house, making these people go places they didn't want to go. They've already proven a prostitution charge of engaging with transportation, because anytime you're paying the people to meet you somewhere to have sex, doesn't matter where it is, there's an even exchange, money, then they perform the act. That's prostitution, cut dry. So the government has proven that, and that's at least 10 years right there, just on the prostitution charge. That's not including the drugs. Drugs confiscated when he got arrested, as I said before. Drugs confiscated at the house when it was raided. See, that's I believe separate. So he's not out of the woods, even if he was found not guilty. And as someone said, who will want to deal with him after all that has been said? Because I believe there's some truth to most of the testimony that's been given. There might be a little bit of exaggeration to some degree, but with the violence and the freak offs and the coercions and the blackmail and the paying the person, security for the tape, paying off, blackmailing Cassie's mom, blackmailing Cassie's friend. I believe all of that. But that's the latest, everybody, from yesterday, day 19. Jane basically wanted more from this man. He could not give it to her. They showed text messages, video clips, and basically he downplayed her every time she tried to express herself, that she was tired of doing the freak off. She wanted a normal relationship. She felt dirty. She was tired of being with these men. She wanted to just be with him only. And basically he was like, stop, girl, like a woman. Stop, girl, like she's, imagining it or making it up. And then basically he's letting her know, okay, well, I ain't got to be with you. I ain't got to be around you. You're going to keep flipping out, wigging out, hey, I don't have to deal with you anymore. He was giving her a way out and she should have taken it. But she played a fool for a bigger fool. You understand what I'm saying? And many people have done it. Not to this extreme, perhaps, this type of deviant behavior. But you've been with some people who did not mean you well. They were not genuine. They were aloof in their behavior. And there are a lot of men like Sean, maybe not sexually deviant, but they don't have any empathy. And you could tell just listening in the video, the audio clip, he doesn't have any empathy. He knows he's doing the girl wrong. He knows she don't want to be doing this, but she's already done it. So he feels like you're going to do it anyway, so stop talking about it. Well, there are a lot of men like that. You can't say anything to them. You can't ask them a question. You can't have an opinion. It's always, oh, that ain't nothing. Why are you worried about that? I really despise men who talk like that, quite frankly. And I've dealt with some recently, even met one recently. Everything is, oh, be happy, be merry. Don't talk about nothing negative. Don't be down today. Why are you down? God's bless you. You above ground. You know that old crazy people talk. Yeah, we know that God blesses us by breathing. But that doesn't stop a person from having a bad day, or they're going through something that day. They're feeling down. They've got some things on their mind. A person's entitled to wade through that. How they wade through that is their choice. But it's not for you to downplay it like it's nothing. You know, like, well, you shouldn't feel like that. There are other things going on in the world. Well, the point is, I ain't worried about what other people got going on. I'm worried about my plate. And when you're around someone like that, that's a grand form of gaslighting. Don't talk about it. It ain't a big deal. I don't want to hear about it. It don't concern me. Why are you talking about somebody else's problem? Why are you worried about what the butcher did, the baker did, and what Susie May said? See, people like that are dangerous. Because basically what they're telling you is what you are talking about is of no relevance. And basically, you're saying they're not relevant. Because if you can't validate what I'm saying and how I feel in that moment, then I'm of no importance. And that's basically what Sean has done to all the people that have been in his peripheral. I deal with you as I need you. I don't care about your stomach hurting, your foot hurting. I don't care you don't like me. I don't care that you don't like what I'm doing to you, what I'm asking you to do, forcing you to do, however you want to word it. I don't care. And as I said, there are many men like him. That nonchalant, narcissistic attitude. What I say, go. I don't explain myself. I hear that a lot. I don't got to explain myself. I'm grown. I can do what I want. I'm single. You know how many times Queen has heard that? That's a man basically telling you, yeah, I know I fucked you over. I'm doing you wrong. But so what? Either deal with it or get the hell on. Deal with it or get the hell on. And sadly, this woman was hanging on up until last year. And that's crucial. But yet she said she came forward to testify because she felt like it was the right thing to do. Some people feel like she was motivated by money. You're entitled to your opinion. $10,000 a month for rent is a lot of money. Allegedly, she has a child by another person, a rapper or somebody. So I'm trying to figure out, yeah, what's really going on with this chick and Sean Puffy Combs? Because you had to be getting some type of money as an influencer and child support from the other dad. How do you get yourself wrapped up with Puffy to where you became dependent on this $10,000 a month or whatever else he was giving you because you seemed miserable as hell? So what was the even exchange? Just to say, oh, I got a house for my kid, I got a nice house, but you're miserable as hell and you're selling your soul to the devil for sex. And you're catching diseases and infections. How is that an even exchange? It's not. You don't feel good about yourself, you're risking your health to get diseases and HIV or AIDS. So what are you gaining? You're not gaining anything. But let's be truthful, as I said earlier, only a fool would sit up here and spend an entire bulk of money on rent when you could live on half of that. And so we don't really know what she was getting. And she claimed that, oh, my influencer life kind of fell off because I was doing all these freak offs, hotel nights. So in your mind, you're looking like you're trying to decipher, like, what the hell am I listening to? You're going to settle for just a little money he gave you, which is a nice amount, 10 G's, however much it was. But you're selling your soul to the devil. You're miserable as hell. You're getting infected when you need antibiotics. This don't make no sense. You see he's out dating other people. You're hearing of him dating other people, seeing he's dating other people, and this is your even exchange. But as the old saying goes, even swap ain't no swindle. So that's your swap. And now you're in a courtroom testifying. And I'm sure she probably still has feelings for him. And I think that's why he's paying attorney's fees, paying her rent still, because he wants to have a long leash on this one. Kind of similar to how he did Cassie. Because I'm sure there are so many women But I think every blue moon he picks that one that he wants to keep that long leash. I'll treat her like a dog, but I'll still try to hold on to her as long as I can. And this situation with Jane is just that. I don't know what's really going on with these two, but it's some fishy SHIT. Because you have testified, he's still paying your bills, giving you money, and paying attorney fees. This is wicked. And I'm trying to figure out why. Because she's spilling the tea and telling all of their dirty business, all of the things he allegedly did to her, said to her, video clips, text messages, all that's being shown, just like with Cassie. And you're still giving up money. So I asked the other day, how long is that going to last? Paying the rent. Now we're learning about the attorney's fees. How long is he going to continue paying her attorney's fees? This is wicked to me. But it may be just a narcissist way. I can will and deal with whomever I want. It's up to them to bail out. And she ain't bailing out. She's still taking the money for the home or whatever she's doing with it. And she's also taking the money to pay the lawyers. And to me, that's a dangerous game. Because you're basically saying that Sean Combs owns you. And with all that's been said about him the past 4 weeks in court, that's not something you would even want to be said about you. That's my commentary, everybody. Like, share, subscribe, drop your comments below this video. Follow me on the Newsbreak app. I've got a couple of shorts in the queue pertaining to Travis Decker. He's still on the run. Has he made his way out of the United States? He had done some Google searches pertaining to Canada. Did he make his way to Canada? Blood was found on the back of his truck belonging to a male DNA and also non-human DNA. They also found his dog. The dog has been turned over to the Humane Society. I don't know if he hurt his dog, punctured his dog, but something is really weird with that information. And my fear is that he possibly has hurt somebody else. Because if he didn't cut himself or hurt himself, who does that blood belong to if it does not belong to Mr. Decker? So we will wait to see if they will find next of kin to try to compare the blood to, possibly his own decedent children, I don't know, DNA, and see if it belongs to Mr. Decker, because what's going to be really jacked up if that DNA does not belong to Mr. Decker, then that means it belongs to somebody else. And I didn't hear that they found the body of anybody else out there when they found the children. And a formal identification of death has been revealed that Mr. Decker unalived his girl children by suffocation. That came in yesterday. It was already deemed that they were suffocated, but an exact autopsy has been rendered, and that's the means of death, suffocation. So he is still on the run. FBI is now handling this case. Local authorities have handed it over, which I'm glad they did. I guess they felt like this has gotten too big for them. We need all the help we can get, so they kindly just gave it over to the FBI. So that's who's handling the search capture for Travis Decker. Once again, he is still on the run. And the latest information is about the male DNA and the non-human DNA, which means it belongs to assumingly an animal, was found on the back of the truck with the 2 bloody handprints. Thank you all so much for your time. Hello, Chick. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to check out of here. Once again, my movie of the week is The Lodge, free on the Tubi app. Check it out. It's a very weird, creepy movie, but hopefully you'll enjoy it. I'll be back with more stimulating content and commentary. You have been listening to the Vault XL. Thank you.